Hello, welcome to Everyone's a Critic Extended Edition. I'm Jacob Douglas. I'm here with Bailey Pearson and Cameron Flatt. And today we're going to be talking about reboots and live-action adaptations, and especially what Disney's doing with its old animated properties. So let's just jump right into it. So The Jungle Book was a very successful live adaptation for Disney, and they're taking a lot of their old animated movies and turning them into live action. We've seen that with The Jungle Book, and now there's rumors of a live-action Lion King. So what do you guys think about the pros and cons of studios producing these live-action adaptations of their old animated properties? Cameron, we'll start with you.
Well, specifically with Disney, a lot of the stuff that they're remaking are already solidified classics. I think the reason to remake a movie is to try and do something new and to maybe take something people haven't seen before. Everyone's seen Lion King, and plus it's not going to be live action. It's just going to be you can't, like, if they were going to go through and make real tigers and real animals, I would watch that in a heartbeat. It's going to be all CGI, so it's going to be an animated remake. I don't see the point.
Yeah, and I agree with that too, because The Lion King doesn't have human characters in it, so it doesn't make a lot of sense for live action. You know, in The Jungle Book, it is CG, but a lot of the animals look realistic, kind of like Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, a little bit like that. So yeah, I can see where you're coming from there. Bailey, what do you think?
Okay, so I don't really like how it's live action because a lot of the movies are like Disney. So like Disney has, what was the last one that you just did?
Jungle Book.
Jungle Book, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so that's like supposed to be like a kid-friendly, like happy movie, but like the live action is more based on like action and like violence. And if you watched it or like watched even the trailer, you'd see that it's kind of more about like the fierce aggression and all of that about the jungle, and it's not like, I don't think it stayed true to the actual show or movie, you know?
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is the fact that the audience they're targeting is not necessarily kids anymore. Those animated movies are for kids. I think it's kind of a nostalgia trip, and they're kind of, banking on our generation and, the generation, older than us, their nostalgia. So do you think that that's why these movies are a little bit like darker almost?
Yeah, that makes, I didn't even think about that before. I feel like this is kind of getting off, but like, kind of like with the whole Toy Story thing, how they waited so long so that they stay with the same target audience. I don't think I like how they do that because it doesn't feel true to the original movie, and I'm all about like keeping with it. If it's a good movie, don't try and fix it.
Okay, so I just want a general opinion here. So you're against the Lion King reboot adaptation, and you are also against it.
Yes.
Okay, so The Jungle Book did very well, and it's directed by Jon Favreau, who is actually on to direct the new Lion King movie. And it's also wrote by Jeff Nathanson, who wrote Catch Me If You Can. It's a famous Leonardo DiCaprio, Tom Hanks movie. So does that change your opinion at all, with the talent they have on board right now? And Disney does a very good job of getting very good voice actors to go with these movies too. Jungle Book had Scarlett Johansson and Christopher Walken and Idris Elba. So, if Disney can get the right talent on board, do you think that would make the movie worthwhile to go see?
I did not know about the writer of Catch Me If You Can being on Lion King. That does grab my attention. Huge fan of that movie. But how much is that writer going to really be allowed to do if they're remaking Lion King, a story that they're not going to want to diverge from much because it's already an adaptation of Hamlet? They've already said they're going to be using some of the original songs. There's obviously going to be very similar. I would much rather see Jon Favreau and that writer make something new, because that's Jon Favreau, big fan of his work. That writer, Catch Me If You Can, fantastic movie. I would really much rather see them make up something new, even if it was a kid-friendly animated movie.
Yeah, and what do you think, Bailey?
I kind of agree with him. I feel like even though they are like super talented, they're going to have to stay kind of limited if they're doing the Lion King, because they are going to have to kind of stay with the general theme and feel of the movie. So like, just because they're super talented doesn't mean that their talents are necessarily going to go well with the movie that they're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Cameron, you hit on making new movies, so that's another question I kind of want to ask. What do you think studios would benefit more from now? We saw this year movies like The Nice Guys, Shane Black's The Nice Guys, one of my favorite movies of the year, probably the best movie of the summer, and nobody went and saw it. But then, we have movies like Captain America Civil War and the big comic book movies and the big adaptations that are killing it at the box office because people are going to go see it. So do you think it's better for the studios to go see these, or to go make these original ideas, or they're making more money off the adaptation. So what do you think about that?
I understand the desire to make a lot of money, but also, especially for Disney, they've proven that their name on something will make money. Zootopia was an original idea. Not a gigantic fan of that movie, but it made a bunch of money and was the original idea. So I feel like Disney plays it safe too often, and I don't know why. They've got so much money. They're a proven asset that they can do whatever they want and almost always get away with it. I think major flops like John Carter and Lone Ranger kind of have made them gun shy, but the thing with those is they made movies that no one wanted to see. Those were already, Lone Ranger was a remake, so I think they need to reevaluate that they have a lot of potential to influence the rest of the industry.
Yeah, and John Carter was an adaptation too, so they really haven't expanded that much out there. So, so now we're going to talk a little bit about the difference between a reboot and a remake. So, reboots we'll define as changing the general themes and plot lines of the movie, but keeping the same name. For example, the new Ghostbusters movie that came out this year. And then there's the remakes, which would be kind of like The Jungle Book. Like pretty much the same plot, same characters, everything. Which one do you think is a better style for movies, and which one do you think would make more money? Bailey, you can go ahead.
I feel like a remake would make more money, just because if people are already in love with the original and they do like a reboot and they like change everything about it, they might go see it and then be like, okay, this is complete garbage. Like, why did I waste my money on this? So they're not going to go out and like see it again, because like I know if I like a movie a lot, I'll go out and see it a couple times, you know, or like I'll go out and buy it. Like if they don't like it, I don't think they're going to obviously invest their money in seeing anything like that.
Yeah, and do you think that the money is what is driving these studios to make? Obviously, it kind of is, but do you think that they should be maybe focusing more on the quality of the movie they're making? Because a lot of these reboots. I went and saw the new Ghostbusters movie. I didn't like it. It was just different than the first. And I think when you reboot, that's a risk you take.
Yeah.
You want to do something different, but also at the same time, there's the core audience that wants it to be the same.
Yeah, I think they should be focusing on the quality over the money they make, because obviously, like if the quality is poor, then they're not going to make any money. And I mean, I don't like the reboots at all.
Okay, Cameron, what do you think?
Both have great examples of being bad and good. I would say they called Ghostbusters a reboot, but the thing about a reboot is it's meant to re-kickstart a franchise that kind of died. I would never really call Ghostbusters a franchise. The first one's a classic, and it has a much lesser sequel, and then it's been dead since then. So more or less, the new one is more of a remake, even though it's honestly what a remake should be. Even though I've not seen it, I've heard very mixed things. It is the original title, the original concept, with somewhat changed characters and modern visual effects.
Yeah, and the thing about the Ghostbusters movie that just drive me nuts in the theater was that they bring back the original cast. Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, they're back, but they're not playing their old characters. They like have small cameos. Like for example, spoilers. Bill Murray's character is some professor who doesn't believe in ghosts, and then some ghost like throws him out the window, and that's like his 5 minutes in the movie. So like, do you think it's almost bad that these reboots are kind of disrespecting almost the original source material? And do you think that remakes are more beneficial just because they're so faithful to the source material and they, there's not as much risk?
There is an interesting contrast when you're doing a remake of how much you need to pander to the original audience, the original fans, and people who have not seen it. When I think of a good remake that I know nothing about the original is 3:10 to Yuma. Came out a couple years ago with Christian Bale and Russell Crowe. I've never seen the original one. I have no idea how similar or different it is, but I really enjoyed it as a movie itself. So I think that one just did a really good job of retelling. It was very classic Western style for a younger audience.
That's a great example of studios kind of taking old movies and making them for a newer generation that's never seen those films before. What do you think about that, Bailey? Do you think that it's a good thing that these studios are taking old movies that we can go out and see, but just making it for a newer audience?
I mean, yes, because like with 21 Jump Street, that used to be like an old show and all of that, and again, like the original cast kind of had a small part, and like Johnny Depp got killed right away because Anyway,
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil it if you guys haven't seen it. But they totally adapted it because it's more relevant to these times. And so, I mean, I do like it, but at the same time, I kind of want it to be the same. I don't know. I'm such like a person for like sticking to it, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to move on to the next question. So the Mulan and Ghost in the Shell movies are two examples of studios capitalizing on their well-known properties, and they both have been accused of whitewashing the roles, which means, so in the Mulan movie, they were thinking about casting a white actress as Mulan instead of an Asian actress, and Ghost in the Shell has already done that with Scarlett Johansson starring in the movie. So what do you think about the studios sacrificing talent to make the movie more authentic to the source material? Do you think they should be doing that, or do you think they should go where the talent is and just try to make the best movie they possibly can?
I think they should sacrifice the talent because I mean it'll be more authentic, and even if the talent's not good, I'll actually feel like I'm in the movie. Because if a movie's really good, like I'll be like so invested that everything else is, I can't even tell what's going on. So like if I know that the actor is authentic and they're like actually like supposed to be where they're at, then I'm like, I don't even care if the acting's subpar.
Gotcha.
You know.
All right, Cameron, what do you think about that?
These are two fantastic examples, and it's funny that you would choose these because I have two very different opinions on these. Mulan is actually the only Disney movie that I think should be remade. I think it would be a fantastic source material to make a PG-13 more realistic version. Go back, research the history, make an authentic. Because it's based on real events, there's real people in here, but the cartoon was, it was a Disney cartoon, completely unrealistic. I think it'd be really fantastic to make something that actually reflected history and with a female lead, and you would definitely need to cast within the race of what it's about. Whereas on the other hand, I don't know anything about Ghost in the Shell. I can totally see why people would not like casting Scarlett Johansson. All I know about Ghost in the Shell is the cover with the main character, and I never really got the explicit feeling that this character was Japanese. And when they announced Scarlett Johansson, I thought she looks like that character. So I'm not really pissed off about it.
Yeah, and Scarlett Johansson's a fantastic actor.
Exactly.
She's one of the best in the business right now. So you can't really blame studios for going out and getting these top-tier actresses to play these major roles because you're if you go out and you cast someone that maybe lesser talent, but you just want to fit the source material, I think you're hurting the movie because you can make a better picture than what you would if you just stuck with the source material.
Well, I also don't think it's necessarily grabbing lesser talent, not necessarily as well known, but the Chinese and the Japanese film markets have really taken off in the last couple of years, and there is definitely a lot of undiscovered talent to find there, for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. So, if you guys were casting the Mulan movie, who would you cast as Mulan?
Man, that's a really good choice. Mulan it's in China, isn't it?
I'm not sure about that.
Okay, well, if it is in China, I honestly, off the top of my head, I don't know any Chinese actors, but I think it would be great when you have a character as famous as Mulan. I think it would be fantastic to find an unknown. This was how I felt about casting Han Solo. Han Solo is such a famous character, you can't cast an actor more famous than him, so go unknown, that's what I would say.
All right, Bailey, what do you think?
So casting for Mulan, I honestly probably would pick Lucy Liu because I don't know if you guys have seen Charlie's Angels, but just from watching that, I'm like, okay, well, she obviously can play like a tough person because she had to play like a tough spy in the movie. So I'm like, obviously she's good at that, and she fits like the ethnicity and all of that. And yeah, I could vibe with that.
There we go. Got you. Well, that's everything today. That was Everyone's Critic Extended Edition. Thank you guys for coming on with me, and see you guys next time.